just a little bit. That's right.
Yeah, I turned the, yeah.
Just dim them a little bit. Can you guys still see?
Yeah, that's better. Hey, David, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I got you. We're good.
All right, I'm gonna up my volume a minute. Hey, Scott, how are you tonight?
Sean, good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good.
Gentlemen,
All right. Is that Chad? We got Chad in here yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay, I hear you.
There we go.
All right. Mr. Keck, I see you're joining us tonight. Are you there?
yes, I am. How are you?
Hey, good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry, I couldn't be in person here, but
The coronavirus is causing us for some challenging times for sure.
it has. All right. Mr. Rose, looks like you're with us.
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Mr. Walters.
Yep. I'm gonna say we're all coming along here.
Okay, Tyler.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
And I've got an unidentified iPad.
That's Chad.
No, that's Chad's. Okay.
He
Yeah.
can't see Chad.
Well, it doesn't have my name on it, but it's okay.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to try to turn you up just a little bit more. Well, I'm recording you too, so.
Did we get the issue figured out so they could stream it or whatever it
We
is?
are
they're gonna
live on
do?
our YouTube channel as of right now. So if they go to our homepage, they should be able to see us. So if you get any text messages from community members or people that are wanting in, just let me know and I can make sure we're in the right here.
It shows up on the left-hand side of my screen. It says live on YouTube. So
I
I
got
guess it
that
does. I
must
just
mean-
now noticed that.
Yep.
We waiting on anybody else?
Doc said he was going to try to join us from, I think he's in Iowa delivering some cattle. So we were going to give a few minutes here, but I'm really trying to get our volume up just a little bit more.
Okay. Well, we can wait a few minutes.
Doc said he was going to try to join us. That's delayed. Let's turn that all the way down now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
That was delayed. Okay. Didn't know that. Okay.
Brian, I like the background, but I can't get mine to work without a green screen.
yeah.
It'll work on my phone. It won't work on the computer.
Okay, we are turned up and ready to go, Pat. It's all turned over to you now.
All right. No Mr. Wilson tonight?
You know, he hasn't texted me and I don't see him in the waiting room. So I'm going to guess that, oh, there he is. He's been waiting on us.
There we go. We'll let him connect. We got a minute or two.
Sorry about that, Steve. I didn't see you there.
All right. Is everybody good? Can everybody hear me?
I got you,
All
Pat.
right. Yep. You all would join me for a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, at this time, we come to you again under unusual circumstances. None of us want to meet like this. We ask for your hand and guidance over everything we do this evening, and remember that it's all for the betterment of the school and the kids. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so everybody wants to join me. I actually will stand up this time, so I don't have to worry about knocking my phone over. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
All right. This meeting of the Flat Rock Hawcreek School Board is now called to order at 7:03 on May 5th, 2020. First thing, approval of minutes from the April 7th meeting. Gentlemen,
I move to approve the minutes from April 7th meeting.
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Public comment. I don't know how we're gonna do that in this forum. Sean, I assume you don't have anybody in there with you other than Missy and Jim.
Misty and Jim are here in attendance, and like I said, we have a few guests on our Zoom here with us. We could open it up for any comment there, but I haven't seen any forms and nobody's reached out. So I'm going to assume there's no public comment.
Brings us to payroll and vendor claims.
We have claims 287 to 356 and payrolls of April 10th and the 24th.
All right, gentlemen. We have a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? Motion passes. So that brings us to item number 6, personnel. Mr. Price.
All right, we have several personnel items on our list tonight. It's rather lengthy, but if you remember correctly, we've decided to go to one board meeting a month. So this is encompassing everything. We've done the last board meeting and things that we're trying to get done before the 1st of June. So with our next meeting not being till June 2nd, I think we've got a lengthy agenda here. First up, Ms. Stacy Kirk, Hope Elementary Title I Director, has submitted her letter of resignation effective May 1st, 2020. Ms. Kirk would like to thank the school board and administration, colleagues, students, and parents for the community for support over the last 24 years. I recommend the board approve Stacy Kirk's resignation effective May 1st of 2020.
Gentlemen.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Other than to thank Mrs. Kirk or Ms. Kirk for everything she's done. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Although any opposed? Motion passes.
I think we're experiencing a little bit of feedback issues. If you could each mute your microphone until you're ready to speak, I think that could help us out a little bit. And when it comes to the vote, if you could all unmute at that time, and I think that may help us in this situation. So we'll see if that does any better. Next up, Hope Elementary music teacher Lucille Burke has submitted her letter of resignation effective May 29th of 2020. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve Ms. Burke's resignation.
Gentlemen.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Hauser English teacher Caitlin Rector has asked for an FMLA leave to begin on May 29th, 2020 and end on January 4th of 2021. I recommend the board approve Ms. Rector's FMLA leave.
Gentlemen,
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Did we lose Brian?
Yeah, it looks like he is waiting to get back in. Let's see if he comes back in here.
We'll give him a second before we vote.
Not seeing any activity waiting.
Let me just go. I think we just go ahead.
We still have a quorum, so I would say go ahead, and if he can get back on, we'll include him again.
So we are on Ms. Rector. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
All right, next up, Dr. Winton is recommending Audrey Bush to fill the math teaching position at Hauser Junior Senior High School. She's earned both her bachelor's and master's degree at Ball State and has 27 years of experience teaching math. Additionally, she has been an adjunct professor of mathematics at the University of Indianapolis for 12 years. I recommend the board approve Audrey Bush to fill the math teaching position at Hauser.
Gentlemen,
So moved.
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right, motion passes.
All right, thank you. Just a reminder, please try to mute your sound when you're not speaking, and we'll try to get that feedback taken care of. Dr. Winton is recommending Jessica Matheny to fill the special ed teaching position at Hauser Junior High School. She has years of experience teaching special education. She's taught at Eastern and other schools in Southern Indiana. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve Jessica Matheny to fill the special education role at Hauser Junior Senior High School for next school year.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and read the next recommendation. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Phillips after that. I think he's got a guest he would like to introduce. But let's take the recommendation first. Principal Dr. David Winton and Athletic Director Tyler Phillips are recommending Mr. Brent Keck to fill the position of head boys basketball coach at Hauser. He has 23 years of experience as a head basketball coach in Indiana. He served in that capacity at Cowan, South Adams, Frankton, Scottsburg, Perry Meridian, and Knightstown. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve Mr. Brent Keck to fill the position of head boys basketball coach at Hauser.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Tyler, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, gentlemen, I just want to, and Coach, if you want to go ahead and unmute your mic, I'll give you an opportunity here as well. Gentlemen, this is Coach Keck, Brent Keck. Wealth of knowledge about the game of basketball, but the thing that impressed me, and I think I can speak for Dr. Winton and Chad as well, is his passion and his enthusiasm about the town of Hope and the school of Hauser. This is a destination job that he's had on the radar for a long time. He and I have spoke daily. about basketball. And usually I have to make up some kind of excuse to get him off the phone because he's so excited about being here. So he is going to be a breath of fresh air. He is Hauser through and through. He's got the personality and the temperament to fit the community and fit the kids. And I feel, in my opinion, he's a home run hire. So Coach Keck, if you're there, if you want to unmute, if you want to introduce yourself and you want to say anything on your behalf.
Thank you. And again, I'm just incredibly humbled and honored for the opportunity. I do think, just like Tyler just said and stuff, I think Hauser's an incredibly special place. Basketball is important. Academics are important. Just the entire community feel. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am. I'm chomping at the bit, like Tyler said, to get to work. That coronavirus is going to take a while before we can actually get in the gym, but I just think it's a special place. I think the history and the program speaks for itself. You have a great press you can take great pride in. I'm excited about the future that we can bring. I'm going to make a huge investment in the future there and work hard at the feeder program and do all those things. I'd like to tell you I'm a package deal. I got a 3-year-old. I've been talking to Chad Miller a little bit about stuff. So I'm going to bring a 6'10" kid with me one day. So it's going to take a while for him to get there, but can't wait to get started. I know there's going to be a timeline where we're going to have to wait, but I just think it's a special place. Can't wait to get started, and just humbled and grateful for the opportunity.
Well,
All
also,
right.
thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here with us tonight, and I'll let Pat jump in there and we'll finish the vote.
All right, gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Coach Keck, welcome aboard. And I've got a 6'3", 14-year-old. I can't wait for you to run half to death.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm chomping at the bit. Doesn't sound like we may have a short window in July, but that virus is kind of working on its own game plan right now. But whenever we get an opportunity, when it's safe for kids, they just need to worry about focusing, getting the job done in the classroom to finish up. But when we get the opportunity, we're going to work hard and we're going to put something on the floor you guys can take a lot of pride in. And we think it's going to be something special again.
6'10" is a big order. Don't make promises you can't keep.
Well, I'm 6'9", partner, and I'm a wide load, and Mama's 6 foot. So we got a chance at least. How about that?
Fair enough. I'll take a chance.
Okay.
Guys, I told him tonight, Pat and Brian, I told him to style his hair like you guys so he would impress you guys. So he's got the
I do have a fresh haircut.
haircut tonight.
Hey, keep it
The
fresh.
hair's overrated.
All right. Well, thank you all. And Mr. Keck, thank you for being here with us. And as I mentioned, this is a rather lengthy agenda for us. We don't feel like you have to stick around. If you need to hop off here for any reason, you don't have to stick through the whole board meeting, but we do appreciate you being at least in our Zoom meeting with us.
Well, again, I just want to say thank you again. I'm humble and grateful for the opportunity and can't wait to get started, and we're fired up. So thank you very much, and go Jets.
Go Jets. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Next up, we
Thank
have Hauser teacher Joe Sibbett submitted his letter of resignation effective at the conclusion of the 1920 school year. I would like to ask for the board to approve Mr. Sibbett's resignation.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Pat, we also need to post for the social studies position with that same recommendation. Resignation, and we'd like
All right.
to post.
So that includes the posting. Any further discussion with that? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, Jessica Poe's asking for approval to post the following ECA positions. We have elementary cheer coach, spell book coach, literacy specialist, lead teacher, grades 1, 4, and 5. Those are internal postings. 5th, 6th grade girls basketball coaches, 5th and 6th grade boys basketball coaches. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve these postings as presented.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
And for the record, you have letter I on your agenda. We are pulling letter I off for a future meeting. We have a little bit more to do before we can recommend that one. So we'll move on down to J. Principal Poe is recommending Abby Callender as the Title I teacher replacing Stacy Kirk. Abby has served as a lead teacher in first grade for 5 years. Her knowledge with data and strong instructional practice make her an excellent fit in this position. I recommend Abby Callender for the Title I position next year.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
All right. Next up, we have Hope Elementary Instructional Aide Ivana Howard has submitted her letter of resignation effective at the conclusion of the 1920 school year. I recommend the board approve her resignation as well as post for that position.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, Principal Poe recommending Sandy Fitzgerald for the first grade position at Hope Elementary. Ms. Fitzgerald has 13 years of experience with the majority of those in first grade. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve Sandy Fitzgerald for the first grade position, replacing Abby Callender.
Gentlemen,
So moved.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you. On a personal note, I'll just add that Ms. Fitzgerald had 2 of my children in Shelbyville where she taught previously, and I think she is a quality add to our team here. Next up, we have contract extensions for administrators. I'm recommending that we extend all administrator contracts that are currently ending June of 2021 for 1 more additional year through June of 2022. So those will be a full 2-year contract again. I'm recommending that all of the administrator salaries for those that are sitting below $70,000 currently, which that includes 6 administrators, will receive a $5,000 base salary increase at this time to go into effect starting on the new contract in July. For all administrators that are currently over the $70,000, which is 3, that's our 2 building principals and Denise Allstead, our technology director, their base salary increase will be 3.5% for that contract. These raises are to be effective the first pay of the 2021 school year. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve these contract extensions and salary increases as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have a recommendation for our food service volunteers. As you know, updated you in the month of April, I think we served close to 16,000 meals, the grab and go style out in front of the school here. So we've got some people stepping up, being here out on the front lines, making sure people are fed. So I want to propose a one-time stipend for those individuals. The recommendation is a one-time bonus for our food service workers and volunteers that are actively working to pass out the meals. My proposal is for anyone that has come in and helped would be eligible to receive a $100 stipend for each week or 3-day period in this case that they volunteered through the end of May. That would mean the minimum a volunteer could earn is $100 and the max would be $1,000. We are averaging about 8 volunteers per day, so I think this would be at a cost of approximately $8,000 to $10,000. Mr. President, I recommend the board authorize the superintendent to issue one-time frontline worker stipend to individuals that have helped with the distribution of meals. Individual stipends, as I mentioned, will range between $1,000 and $1,000 depending on the number of weeks worked.
Gentlemen,
So moved.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, Hauser Athletic Director Tyler Phillips is asking for approval to post the following lay coach positions for the 2021 school year. This is customary. We post these out there. We understand that a lot of our coaches will be coming back, but we post them each year on our website and various places. So, Mr. President, I recommend the board approve the listing. It's in your packet. There are several on here. I won't read through all of them, but you can look at those. They're the same postings we post each year.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. And finally, on the personnel report, I have Transportation and Facilities Director Jim Tedder is recommending Josh Henson for the position of the bus maintenance technician effective May 11th. Josh has served as our bus technician through the Cummins bus program that officially ends on May 8th. This position will be 35 hours per week at a rate of pay, and the rate of pay will be $23.50 per hour. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve Josh Henson for the position of bus maintenance technician effective May 11th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
That concludes the personnel report.
All right, now on to the superintendent's report.
First up, we have a fund report, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Dempsey.
We have month-to-date expenses of $832,850.30. Year-to-date expended is $2,416,549.82. That leaves the unexpended balance of $7,065,954,954.18 with a 25.48% encumbered.
Anybody have any questions on the fund report? Seeing none, we'll move on to a recommendation from Food Service Director Shannon Pittman is requesting approval to increase the prices of lunch at Hope Elementary and Hauser Junior Senior High School for both lunch and breakfast programs as follows. You have in your list there the current full pay and the proposed full pay. Those are our customary 10-cent increases. That's helping us keep up with what the state deems as a minimum increase for us. That's about the smallest increase we can do and keep up. So we're trying to keep that down, but that 10-cent lunch increase for lunch and breakfast is what I'm recommending.
Gentlemen,
Move
So
to
moved.
accept the increase in
Nobody wants to increase lunch, but I'll do it.
I'll
Sounds like
second.
we got a first from Brian and a second from Steve. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No one's happy about it. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right.
If it makes you feel any better, we're going to try to give out as many free meals through May and June as we can to make sure people are getting fed. So that's it's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
All right, you have a list of courses from Dr. Winton. He's asking for approval to add classes to the junior senior high school course list. They are electives and provide opportunities to fill the new graduation pathway requirements. The junior high classes are electives that have been added, that are able to be added due to realignments in the schedule. I'm not going to read through all those courses, but I'll let you pick and choose and look through those. David is here to answer any questions you may have, but I recommend the board approve these class list as presented.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
I think Chad's
Second.
trying to second.
All right, it sounds like we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I got some feedback from some college students that wish we had a keyboarding class or wish they would have had one when they went through school. And I think I mentioned this before, but there's a lot of students in college that wish they had that skill, and I wish that we offered it. So keyboarding, make a note.
I'll make the note and I'll see if David has a comment.
Actually,
Thanks.
keyboarding was one of our discussions. Our issue is we don't have anybody that's really, it used to be a business teacher all the time. We don't have a business teacher in the building. So somebody with experience to do that. We talked about including it in our SOAR rotation, but again, finding the person to do that was difficult for us this time around.
Okay, well, I'll just keep bringing it up as long as I'm here, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
I think when we took it, it was typing, and all I heard Mrs. Sanders ever say was type faster. That's all I ever heard her say.
Yeah, as soon as Steve said keyboarding and typing, I had bad visions pop back up in my head.
Type fast, type faster, type faster. That's all I ever heard. Couldn't do it.
All right, any further discussion or questions for Dr. Winton?
Oh, we had home row too. Sorry about that. We had home row.
All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
All right, any opposed? Motion passes.
I thought Dr. Winton was holding his hand up there to say that, you know, talk to my hand, you know, like he's just hitting his mute button, isn't he?
All right. Well, next up, Dr. Winton has textbook rental fees for the 7th through 12th for the 2021 school year. You've had those in your packet. I think we made some last minute updates. If you remember correctly, the iPads, we were at about $64 for an iPad rental. We have drastically dropped that by a higher corporation contribution. Denise has found a better deal on the iPads. I think that's down somewhere closer to $32 now for iPad rental. So that helped the book rental fees. But he's here to answer any questions you may have over book rental, but we're recommending you approve the fees as presented.
Gentlemen,
Move to approve the fees as presented.
I'll second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions while we've got Dr. Winton on the line? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. And on book rental fees, a note that Hope Elementary is still combining a few other pieces of information. They should have theirs in our June meeting, so we can get those all approved as well. Next up, we have recommendation from Dr. Winton for semester grading guidelines. We wouldn't be typically bringing these to you at this time, but due to our current situation in COVID, we needed to make some alterations to our grading policies and guidelines. So we're bringing those here to you so you can see how we mean to move forward for our 7 through 12 grades. So Dr. Winton's recommending the following grading guidelines as presented in your board packet.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Again, questions for Dr. Winton? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
I'd just like to take a moment and I want to thank Dr. Winton and his leadership team for coming up with, we're really putting in the time to come up with a strategy to make sure that kids are not being harmed through all this. I think it was fair. It also doesn't reward kids that decide they're going to just take the time off and not do anything. So I do think that there was a balance there, and I do appreciate the work that he did on that. All right. Next up, Facilities Director Jim Tedder is recommending ETC systems to replace our entire outside pole and canopy lights to LED. This will finish our LED upgrade for the campus. ETC is approved. If they are approved, we'll also add 2 light poles at the new parking lot by the playground back behind Hope Elementary. I'm recommending that we approve ETC to do this work.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Other than to say we are glad to have lights back on that parking lot. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you. We do think that the 2 light poles will add the needed light back there, but if we come to find out that that's still not enough, we have an option to add a floodlight on the side of the building as well to add even more illumination out there. So we'll see how these 2 go, and then we'll go from there. Next up, Jim Tedder's recommending the Harding Group to install new concrete out back by Hope Elementary Gym and the field house. There's a section of grassy area there where the car riders are dropped off. We talked a while back about adding concrete to that. The north side of the field house needs a concrete sidewalk to make sure that we can get all the way around the field house. So those are some of the areas we will be installing concrete through the Harding Group. Mr. President, I recommend the board approve the Harding Group to install these concrete areas.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. We got another recommendation from Mr. Tedder. We want to use Dixon Coating for the epoxy flooring in the Hope Elementary art room. Dixon Coating are the ones who have provided our resident floor that's throughout Hope Elementary, that's in the new ag building. They've done a nice job for us, and we want to recommend them for the art room in Hope Elementary.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have another recommendation from Jim Tedder. He's recommending Columbus carpet for the new VCT, to put new VTC in the computer labs at Hope Elementary. We actually received a grant to do a makerspace. We are expecting to get 3D printers that we want to add into one of our computer labs we're not currently using. We want to go ahead and take this opportunity to get the old Hope Elementary flooring out and replace it with VCT. I am going to add to this recommendation, and I'll see how you want to do this, but VCT is Columbus carpet. They've also been the ones that put down the carpet in our office areas. We would like to recarpet the libraries as well. I apologize for not getting this quote to you sooner, but they just sent it to us today. So we're looking at, for both the Hope Elementary and the Hauser libraries, it's about $23,000 of carpet. The plan was to do the offices last year and library this year. So I want to go ahead and add that to this, where they'll be doing the VCT and the carpet if you guys are okay with that. So that would be my recommendation, and I'll take any questions you have.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
No, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So Sean, you said something, I think you called it a makerspace, and we're gonna 3D printer, right?
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that and
Well,
and use that for and how that's gonna work?
Well, Jessica Poe and I have talked several times about trying to increase our STEM opportunities for elementary students. Deb Gaff has been collaborating and spending some of her time at the elementary. I think that right now we are a little understaffed to really develop it the way we want to, but we want to provide a space that when we have that opportunity, we have a place for those kids to go. So I can't at this time give you a lot more detail on the number of items we'll have in there, but I know that there's some workstations and some technology that's coming into that space. And that'll actually be later this month. I think those deliveries are coming. So I will send you more from Mrs. Poe as soon as I have it.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, it'd be great if we could, I mean, that's a great opportunity, right? For a lot of different areas. So if it could be somewhat of a schedule to be able to use that, even if it's not, one class or whatever, I think that'd be a great opportunity for a lot of different areas to use that space.
I agree. Right now, she's looking to see how we can kind of fill that classroom maybe internally for the time being, but the idea would be that that could become a whole specials area of its own in the future.
I think a STEM special would be very welcome. I think a lot of the kids would take to it too. All right, gentlemen, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Jim Tedder is also recommending our two summer help positions, Sean Miller and Sarah Tedder, for the 2020 summer help, working less than 30 hours per week.
Gentlemen, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Motion passes, and I think they did a pretty good job last year, so I think we're going to be in good shape this year with the help.
Plus, we're getting a little bit of a head start here on some of our summer work, so that's good too. All right, next up, Jim Tedder is also recommending we lock in our fuel prices with Premier Energy for the 2021 school year. Included in your board packet is the locked-in price, our average price for the 1920 school year, so you can compare those two. So I recommend the board approve locking in our fuel prices with Premier Energy for 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion about our fuel price lock-in?
Is that still a lock-in price as of today? That was 4 days ago. It's changing daily. Hopefully we can get it sooner than later.
I will call him immediately, first thing in the morning, and it may change just a little bit from these figures. These figures were from Friday, so hopefully it's even lower. And I'll have Mr. Price give you guys that update when I get it locked in for tomorrow morning.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, next up, we have our latchkey program bids. They were due in my office by the 29th of March. We received the one bid that we normally do from the community center. The rates are listed in your board packet. I think you're pretty accustomed to seeing these. So I won't read through all that, but the Hope Community Center has been successful operating for us since 2001. We don't look to make any changes at this point. So, Mr. President, I recommend the board approve Hope Community Center for our latchkey program as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. And Dr. Winton, you're trying to stay awake for us?
Struggling just a little bit.
Toothpicks on his eyes there.
My schedule is pretty far out of whack right now, I gotta tell you.
I can relate, believe me. Does that finish up the superintendent's report, Sean?
As long as you guys get a vote on that, if you voted on the latchkey, then we're good. That concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, that brings us to other business. Mr. Price, you have something?
I just want to remind you that we are canceling the May 19th meeting unless something pops up that we need. We feel like we can get this done here in June 2nd, I think is our next meeting, and we will see where we're at that point. The only other update that I'd like to give you is that following the governor's latest announcements, trying to give us a schedule of opening back up some of the businesses and things around us, we will continue to practice our social distancing. Our office, there's someone in the office almost every day, if not every day, but we are still kind of running a schedule where we switch off so we don't have everybody in at all times. Custodians are back, but they're working in isolation or in groups. When they're in groups, they're wearing their masks and practicing as much distancing as they can. So we're going to continue to do that through the month of May. And then we'll see where we're at in June and reevaluate and see how many staff members we're calling back. Right now, Dr. McCormick is keeping campuses closed. Dr. Holcomb and McCormick have announced that school campuses are closed at least until June 30th. So as we mentioned, we're holding out hope that maybe we can get back and do some things in July possibly, but we'll have to wait and see where we're at.
All right, gentlemen, do we have a motion for the recommendation of canceling the May 19th meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Anything else as far as other business?
So when you say we're going to close the campus, that means track, tennis courts, everything remain closed until that date you just quoted, Sean? Mr. Price?
Yes, that's the recommendation we're getting from the state. They had specific questions when it came to weight rooms and activity centers and things like that being brought up. And they were very clear that those, when they say closed, they mean closed. And that's the guidance they're giving. We have the local authority to deem what we feel is essential. So having students come pick up their items from their lockers, for instance, could be deemed as an essential function so that we can prepare our lockers for next year. So those are some things that we are going to have people on site for. But when it comes to recreation, running on the track, any kind of fitness, they are taking a pretty strong stance that we need to stay closed for those items.
Okay, thanks for
David,
the clarification.
Did I cover that okay, David? Was there anything to add?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, device pickup was mentioned by Dr. McCormick as being essential. I'm sure shared with and the graduation plan shared with you. The plan for that is to just have one kid, family at a time, in 3 different areas for a 15-minute section with a chance to disinfect in between. So I think we're okay on that. And that's technically an iPad return day. And they're picking up graduation stuff at the same time.
Brian, to your point, I will add that, we've had several people pull up in our parking lot and get some bikes out and let kids ride around, things like that. We are not strictly enforcing campus closed in that regard, but we do feel like it's our obligation to make sure what we can lock down, we do. So just to your point, playgrounds, things like that are going to be areas where people will want to congregate. And I know that most towns, cities have closed those off as well for the time being.
I know the town
Fair
of
enough.
Hope has closed the playground in on the square.
All right. Anything else as far as other business? All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, folks.
I'll be in contact with you. You'll have some things that we'll need to sign here as far as teacher contracts, administrative contracts. We'll have you come in a rotation and get things signed as we need them.
I might throw in, whenever diplomas come in, we need to get signatures on those as well.
Those will be the
Yeah,
priority as soon as we get them.
Just let everybody know. I'm sure we can find a time to get in there and sit 6 feet apart and do them.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for attending a rather long board meeting, but again, it's our one for May, so I think we're doing all right.
I had to work, but I could squeeze it into my schedule. It's okay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Have a good night.
You too,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.
See ya.